for today is something related to grammar or?
This is a weekly session, particularly now, and well, weeklies have a focus on vocabulary. So these are day-to-day topics that we need to acquire in order to acquire something we call proficiency, and I'm gonna explain you that in just a little bit. So yes, we have a weekly session, and today's topic is about video games. Okay, seems like
Hello.
hello. Hello, Jenny.
Hello, tutor.
How are you?
How are you?
Pretty well,
Fine,
thank you.
teacher. And you?
I'm very good, thank you. So, as I was telling Sonia, we have a weekly session for today. And weeklies normally have an emphasis on vocabulary. So the idea here is that I'm gonna speak a lot, quite a lot. You guys also have the chance to speak, but to acquire those new words that you encounter, alright? Today's topic is about video games. And well, why, you may be wondering, why video games? Well, turns out that in this era that we live in, video games are very important. And in fact, it's part of our popular culture right now. It's a form of entertainment that most people do. I have here some indexes about people that play video games. So let me write it. Video games. Now this is important because there's a lot of people that play video games. Now the precise numbers for that is that 53% of men, this is in America, in the United States, play video games. This is males. And 43% of females play video games. So you see, it's now part of, we like it or either we like it or not, we're gonna have to deal with this video games. All right. So yeah, in general, it's a huge thing. That's why we need to talk about it. And I would like to start this lesson with a warm-up. I have two questions for you guys. And the first one, let me scroll down, is why are video games popular? The second one is, are video games part of our culture? Video games. Alright, so let's call this number 1, number 2. So Jenny, can you please help me with question number 1?
Why are the video games popular? The video games popular is very important for me because I think that I listen the real language of the language, the dialectic, I listen where the variety of language in a region, in a country, in a city. it's very because when I study or when I study the language, for example, we are studying English, yes.
Yeah.
Uh, in the class, we are learning formal English formal, yes.
Mhm.
But when in front of the language real, it's the difference. The sound is different.
Mm.
The it's very fast. It's very. It's I don't know, but it's very. The experience is very interesting because it's meeting with the language real. Yes, for me.
Very well. You mentioned very good points there, and the main one that I really like is experience. So one of the reasons that video games are popular is because they offer an alternative experience, and we call that interaction. So thank you very much for that, Jenny. So yeah, in the case of why are video games popular is because the interaction that they offer is immersive. So let's see, you have someone here watching at a screen. This is a screen, and they feel like they are there. So it's a very different kind of experience compared to reading, compared to watching TV, watching films. So that's why one of the reasons video games are so popular. Let's not forget also that yeah, we even in some cases video games provide some form of education, but this is not the ultimate goal of video games. The ultimate goal of video games is to entertain, to have fun. Now some people saw that you can have some fun while studying, so they practically did this. Let's have fun in education. Alright, now let's go with the second question. Are video games part of our culture? This one is very subjective. It depends on who you ask. So for this, I'd like Sonia to help me. Sonia, so are video games part of our culture?
Sure that I'm not good at video games, but I consider that video games are part of our culture, and because it permits or is possible interaction among people with different culture, or interact with people with another place or country. For example, somebody from Colombia can play video game with somebody from, well, any part of the world, and they can feel or live a virtual reality, and their reality can show sometimes their culture. And well, another thing is that the video games day by day are increasing their industry. So it means that is positive, is people is accessing day by day to this kind of entertainment. And for that reason, yes, video games are part of our culture.
Very well, Sonia. Thank you for that. So, in Sonia's perspective, video games are part of our culture, yes, and she mentioned something quite important, and that is the industry. So this one is huge. Just write it. It's huge. There's a lot of money going on there. And well, part of that money comes from these numbers. 53% males and 43% females. There's a lot of people, and they are playing video games. So they, every time they buy video games, consoles and all of that, they're part of the industry, which is again huge. That was a very good warm-up, guys. Thank you for that. We can continue with the presentation of this lesson. So I have gathered some of the most important keywords in this field, and the first one is genres. Genres. So we all know that. Let's have a comparison with movies. In movies, we have romance movies, science fiction, we have horror movies. What else? Well, you get the idea. We have a ton of genres in movies. It happens the same with video games. In video games particularly, we have I will say more than 100 genres, but we can summarize those 100 genres into a few. And how are we gonna do that? Well, we do that by popularity. Some of these genres are, let's use this color. Yeah. So we have first shooters. What are shooters? Well, these are one kind of video game where you have to shoot. Not necessarily you shoot guns to kill people, but in order to remember that, we saw, yeah, okay, this is where you kill something. But we also have shooters, well, where you shoot even flowers. You can shoot water. There's a video game where you shoot paint, and it's not necessarily just killing. So any kind of projectile that you shoot is gonna be called a shooter video game. Now we also have sports. There are video games about sports, for example, soccer. There's fishing. Another one is basketball. Basketball is very popular in the case of sports, and also the Olympics. This is a very popular genre, sports, and it encompasses all sports that you can imagine. There's also fantasy. Let's write it here. So sport also encompasses fantasy, where you can play sports like soccer, but not necessarily as we know it, but for example with animals or cartoons. That's the case of sports. Alright. Now we also have fighting games. In the case of fighting, yeah, it makes part of sports, but I write it in different category, because this same category of sports has multiple categories. So we have boxing. We also have something called Smash. Smash is when, well, normally in fighting games only two people fight, but that is, for example, in boxing. But in Smash, you have multiple people fighting. We can be talking about 3 people, 4, 5, and even 10. There's not a limit, and that's why it's called Smash. It's kind of crazy. We also have something called Sims. This is a short for simulators. So in this type of game, we simulate reality, something that Sonia was talking us about, and it was the reason for her to categorize it as something cultural, and that is true. So we have simulators about cars, we have simulators about works, and there's another type of simulator, this one called works/jobs, and there's also one, well, cars is not necessarily called cars, but it's racing, and I'm trying to think about the third one, but I don't remember right now. So let's continue. When I remember that, I'm gonna tell you about it. So we also have something called RTS. RTS is real-time strategy games. Let me write it for you. Real-time strategy. And in this particular category, real-time strategy games, these are games where you have to spend various hours in order to set your goals. One popular game in this field is called Age of Empires, and in this game the goal is to proclaim civilization. So let's say you have 100 people and you need them to have jobs, you need 20 people to be gardeners, and you need 50 people to form an army. That's RTS, real-time strategy. Strategy, we can also associate it with war. War is very important in this type of video games. We also have something called MMOs. MMOs. And this means that they are massive multiplayer video games. Massive multiplayer video games. And well, this one is very similar to RTS, which are about wars, but in this case you're talking about multiplayer, so you can play and talk with lots of people. That's why it's called massive. There's more than 100 people playing this whenever you play. And we also have something called MOBAs. This is a short for multiplayer battle arenas. So these three are very similar, as you guys are seeing. In the case of MOBAs, these are focused on multiplayer, and these are shooters. So notice how in RTS we're talking about strategy, In MMOs, we're talking about wars, which is also strategy. But in MOBAs, we're talking about shooters. So that's the case of those three. These are the most not important, but the most difficult to remember: RTS, real-time strategy, MMOs, and MOBAs. The final genre that is very popular is called RPG. This is short for role-playing games. Role-playing games. In this kind of game, you assume one role and it's a simulation. In this kind of role, well, you assume the role of a person and live your normal life. It's like living right now, but it can also be within the context of fantasy. So you can be living the life of let's say a magician or a warrior or a witch. RPG. Alright, so those are the most popular genres that we have: shooters, sports, fighting, sims, RTS, real-time strategy, MMOs, and MOBAs. I'm sorry, and RPG. In the case of simulations, I forgot and I just remember now. It's real life. Oh, where was that? Real life. This is also called social. And you can make friends there and have a second life. There's even a video game in this type of video games, of sims, called Second Life. And well, it's as it sounds. You have a second life right there. Alright, so that's the case of genres. We also have platforms. This one is kind of the most important in this topic because it's the industry itself. So platforms. Let me write it with black. Platforms. So guys, before we go ahead with platforms, I need you to remember that this lesson is just to incorporate this kind of vocabulary. Let me remind you that proficient speakers need to know the necessary vocabulary to talk about anything. So you can talk about video games as well as you can talk about education, or you can talk about I don't know, anatomy. You can talk about 30 minutes about the heart. So knowing about all of these topics is important for that reason, to acquire that vocabulary. So in the case of platforms, we have PC. This one is short for personal computers. I'm sure you guys know that one. But let me write it right here. Computers. For PC, we have two major platforms within the platform of PC. We call that subcategories. One is Windows, and the other one is Apple. Alright, so you can play video games either if you have a Windows machine or if you have an Apple machine. We also have consoles. So consoles, we have three big ones. The first one is Xbox. We also have PlayStation. and we have Nintendo. Okay, so for the case of Xbox, there have been a couple of consoles for that platform, like the first one was called the original Xbox. The second one was called the Xbox 360, and the third one is called the Xbox One. These are very similar to PC platforms, but in the case of consoles, you can connect them to your living room. So PC is more for a desk or a desktop, whereas consoles you use them in the comfort of your living room. All right. Okay, I have one message. I don't listen well. I have here my monitor, and it's showing me that my speaker is good. I as well repeat these lessons on the form of YouTube, so don't worry for that. I can show you the recording. But look, it's going well, my microphone. It might be something with your connection, Jenny. All right. So let's continue. PlayStation. PlayStation, we have PS1, which is short for PlayStation 1, PS2, PS3, and finally PS4. These all are consoles. In the case of Nintendo, well, we have a huge list. This one will be very difficult to mention in its entirety, but the last one is the Nintendo Switch. And from Nintendo, we have another subcategory, which is called handheld. Handheld. And as you can recognize from the name, these are consoles that you can use with your hand. You don't have to connect them to your wall. So these are portable. Let me see. I think it's my internet. Yeah, it seems like she didn't listen. So let me, Sonia, let me just write her a message. I'm sorry for that. It's gonna take just 1 minute. Okay, now let's continue. So handheld, yeah, you can you can use video games just in the comfort of your hands. I'm not very good at drawing hands, but let's say this is the Nintendo, and this is your other hand. That's how you're gonna remember handheld. All right, that's it for platforms and genres. I think we have talked about everything about that there is about video games, so we can move to the exercise that we have. For this case, as it is a weekly lesson and the major focus is on vocabulary, we had proposed this general listening quiz. So this one doesn't have to do anything with video games, and I don't think it's a particularly good exercise because well, the recording is just about a parent listening to his children that wants a new Xbox or a new Nintendo, and it's I don't think it's a good exercise. So I found this one, which is very good, and they explain the video game genres. I'm gonna send you this link, Sonia, on the chat, so please open the chat.
Okay, teacher.
But don't open the video game yet, because I have some questions that I need you to think about before watching the video. So in that video, I'm sorry, I need you to pay attention to what is the most popular genre. Also, what are themes? Themes. And well, there's a joke about Koreans. So the question is, what's the joke about Koreans? Okay, Sonia, so now you can open the video and listen to it. It's about 5 minutes and 35 seconds. So as soon as you get it done, let me know and we can work on those questions together. I'm gonna leave you with the questions on screen. So, Sonia, did you finish with the video?
Yes, they should
Okay, perfect.
be
Now
the
let's start with.
moment because it's
Yes, tell me. I didn't understand it.
is more conflict by listening.
Okay. Now let's go ahead with these questions. So
If you
according to that video, what is the most popular genre?
picture yeah,
Don't worry about that. So it's shooters.
popular shooter
Mm-hmm.
shooter games.
So that means
The games.
where you shoot people.
It is about. Can you hear me? Yes. It is
Yeah.
about battles. Mm, mm, eh, many many people can participate and young people
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes people from college campus.
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
That's very well. Thank you for that. Now, I have this second question for you. What are sims? But let's do it that in the form of a summary, so that we can have a better memory of that summary. So sims. What are
What are
sims? Yes, Sonia. Can you please tell me what are sims?
maybe about cars?
Mm-hmm. Cars. So in general, sims are simulations. It's just the short for that. Simulations. Alright, and also we have that shooters are the most popular video game, and well, the other part was about the platforms. So remember about the platforms is where you can play
Platform.
is where you can play the video games. So you have the Xbox, you have PC, and I forgot to mention one that is very important, and is your cell phone. We call that mobile. All right. Now,
You say PC, the PC or personal computer and cell mobile phone.
that's right. So we call mobile to anything that is related to cell phones, even tablets, all of that technology that we use to call people. Okay, Sonia. Now I'm wondering if you have any question regarding this lesson.
Usually is my first lesson about video games. I really don't play video games and for today was a surprise but nice because for me it's interesting to learn about everything
That's
and
great.
this topic I know that is popular in
Yes, that was my first thought about this lesson, because I had an analogy. In my case, I don't like football very much, but it is necessary to know about football because it's related to culture. So it's nice that you said that. Thank you for that. Now that will mark the end of our question, Sonia. So I appreciate your attendance. Also, thank you for participating. That makes the lesson so much better. And I hope you have a nice day. I think I have also grammar with you later, right?
Maybe what day?
Today.
I don't remember. Today we have grammar.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But
yes.
Let me check that right quick.
I'm not sure.
1 p.m.
Okay.
No, and 2 p.m.
Well, teacher, no. At 2 p.m. I have a meeting
Yeah, I
in
don't have
another
video.
place.
You're right.
Okay,
Okay, Sonia.
teacher, thank you. Thank you.
Well, have a nice day.
Listen, see you next week.
See you
Bye,
next week.
and
Bye bye.
have a nice